5:59. I'll call the meeting to order. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back. I guess I'd just offer a point of clarification. I think depending on how you interpret the warning, this could look like a special meeting to consider the Apple Hill dialogue. This is a special meeting that was scheduled by the select board because we had an abnormal kind of breakup of meetings, and we're kind of at the tail end of budget season. It also just happened to be an opportune time for us to take up the conversation about Apple Hill along with that. So just a little point of clarification for the public. So we are going to be starting off with the Apple Hill maintenance discussion. We do have, and then that's going to be followed by town budget discussion. So, you know, presumably the folks here are all here to kind of comment on that particular topic. But if not, if there's other public comment, there will be a period for that at 6:45, which is just kind of an opportunity for folks to weigh in on anything that's not on the agenda. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of run under the assumption that folks in attendance are here to talk about a particular item. Probably the first one. So I guess to also kind of frame that, there's been some kind of dialogue around practices of sanding, occasional sanding of class 4 roads, Apple Hill in particular. So this is just kind of an opportunity to gather information, hear feedback on that, get some context. I don't know that any particular decision is going to be made, but really just for an opportunity to kind of air some of that and get an idea of kind of what we're talking about and what everyone's expectations are, so that we can inform a future decision, hopefully. Does that sound about right? All right, great. So with that, I think I will ask Kari to provide a little bit of a summary on the feedback that the town has, or an overview of kind of the request as the town and the road department understand it. And then I think we'll try to work through some input from the Apple Hill contingent residents on what the challenge is, and we'll go from there. Does that sound about right to everyone?
Kari, it looks like there's another person.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I think there's at least a couple different issues that are related, but at least a couple of them will add to it if there's more. This originally started as an agenda item about a month and a half ago. Actually, Jamie brought it, and she was hearing from residents of Apple Hill that they would like to have more maintenance, I think winter maintenance specifically, standing and maybe plowing in the winter. And we discussed it, Jamie Jordan and I, like what the options might be. Everything from leaving it as it is to turning it into a class 3 road throughout, you know, and various things in between. And it seemed like it was really important for the residents to have, you know, come together and have some sort of alignment to make a request like that. So that was one sort of broad set of issues. And then more specifically, the topic of sanding on request occasionally came up last week when we had that amazing rainstorm and freezing the next day. And I take it was pretty bad on Apple Hill and other places. And Mark had made a request multiple times for sanding, which I passed along to the crew, John Stafford, the foreman specifically. And by the end of Tuesday, or some point on Tuesday, John was saying, I don't want to sand. Which was the first time I'd heard him sort of push back specifically on that. And I guess now backing up a little bit on this topic, when I started 2 years ago, Mark and I had some discussion about the history of this nature of this request. I take it that this has been going on for a while, like 20 plus years, that the residents will occasionally make a request for, I don't even know if it's both sides, but the south side of Apple Hill for sure, the class 4 portion, and that different road commissioners, foremen would respond, usually positively, but it seems like over the past couple of years that has not been happening. And I didn't actually realize that we weren't responding in that sort of way until recently. So I guess one thing I should have alerted you to in the memo was that there is a policy about class 4. And I just wanted to speak to the specific bit about winter maintenance. It says the road commissioner may evaluate class 4 town highways to determine if winter maintenance is needed and may, as time and resources permit, provide minimal amounts of sand or tree removal or both. Plowing by private parties can only be done with prior written permission of the select board. So there is already the authority for the road commissioner to make that call for occasional sanding. And, I intend to work that out with John as to how we're gonna respond to that. I'm not comfortable just having a blanket no. Oh, but I did want to mention, when I talked with John about it, what his concerns were, and they were, there was a set of them. One was definitely, well, that's a class 4 road, and I'm concerned about precedent and implications for other class 4 roads, specifically Hayden Road, where there are a number of homes, Woodbury Mountain Road, where we've gotten some requests, GAR, there's a few others. So there's that, and then there's also the specifics of the south part of class 4 Apple Hill, which is steep and doesn't apparently have a great turnaround for the trucks. So he's definitely uncomfortable with the dump trucks going up there, and some concern about the smaller truck.
Were trees mentioned by him?
And trees were mentioned as well. This for the site.
So you have the maintenance of it.
This was specifically about sanding on request.
The trees
Any
make it
sanding.
difficult for the trucks.
Yeah, that it's just, it just is a challenging environment to operate in. And bottom line, his position was, it's a class 4 road, it should be handled privately, like other class 4 roads.
There's another person on the
No? So.
Do other class 4, sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
have a question.
No, please.
Do other class 4 roads receive that kind of, like, you
No, I don't
mentioned
believe so. The one instance I'm aware of was summer maintenance or replacement of a culvert on Woodbury Mountain Road on request. Just somewhat different, just to make it passable, just to protect the water resources around there as well. This is specifically about winter maintenance, as I understand it. At least this one specific issue. I'm not sure the larger issue that was brought to Jamie at that point.
Yeah, and I think there's there's an argument I think to be made relative to like the town's obligation to kind of maintain its legal right of way there. So like, or to perform maintenance to the extent that the right of way is established. But I'll admit that I think between the definitions of our class 4 roads and then our maintenance policies, there's a lot of ambiguity around where that line kind of gets drawn on a regular basis, and I think it merits some reasonable time discussing.
well, in policy and practice.
And
Right.
practice.
Right.
I want to acknowledge that, committing to making a maintenance commitment, like occasionally sanding for the road crew could be, problematic in that the maintenance of each class 4 road is going to be somewhat different and disparate, and bringing town equipment that you're responsible for safely operating up those roads can be variable relative to how they're being maintained and relative to how much traffic those roads are seeing. So, but I do think it'd be important to talk to hear from the residents of the Apple Hill Road community, and just kind of get some input on what conditions are, and what they feel is reasonable, or et cetera. So how what would be an equitable way to work through this? Is the left to right, or or right to my left?
All this together.
We can always do that. I'll let the record reflect that Sam requested.
Red line that out.
Well, you started it, Sam.
Sure, I'll jump in. I mean, as far as the ability to be able to plow the road, I've never operated a plow, and certainly a plow of that size to know whether it is or is not safe. So, I mean, I can't really speak to that. I think there probably is some sort of, because I believe there's some sort of concern about being able to turn the plow around, what I've heard too. I don't know, I know a plow's been up there in the past, so do we know if the plow's been able to turn around in the past successfully up there, or?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it has.
Okay.
Dozens of times.
Okay, and where does it turn around, is it?
In Alexandria, well, in Ben's driveway, Ben and Kelsey's driveway.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to alleviate some of the concerns of the plow commissioner, or the road commissioner.
Is that the old Savage place we're talking about, that driveway?
No, Alexandra's.
Alexandra's, okay.
Yeah, I'll talk about that when it's my turn.
Okay.
I'll give you the details.
And I know turning into a class 3 road has been brought up, and I don't know, I would assume that would involve widening the road on some level, potentially. I don't know what that entails, whether there's been, if we would need to do some sort of like site survey to see, because I know there's some telecommunications equipment and things like that up there, at least past our driveway. I don't know if there's more than just past our driveway, so I think it'd just be good to see if we can come to some sort of like reasonable compromise on the occasional sanding. I don't think anybody on the hill is going to, every time it snows, give a call, like, we have an inch of snow, we need sand right now. Like, I think we're all pretty hardy individuals living on the hill, so I think most of us have the type of vehicle, the type of cars be able to traverse the hill. It just, there's a few times a year where, situation gets pretty bad. Like you just said, the rain that we had a few days ago, pretty bad. Yeah, that's just my thoughts on it.
So I'm not a resident, I'm John Rosenblum. I have lived for 24 years on Worcester Road, which I think is a class 2 road. A real highway,
Federal highway.
Federal.
I always tell people when they come from, visit me from the city, I tell them, this is a major dirt road. But I, for the last, 24 years have had the luxury of coming home on just about any day or night and in an all-wheel drive car, feeling like I can get home, to my house. And if there's an emergency at my house, if there's a fire, or maybe I have a heart attack or something, I have the luxury of thinking that, an ambulance or fire truck will get to my house. And I'm naive about how plowing works, but I think we're talking about 0.8 miles of dirt road. I think Calais, that represents maybe right around 1% of Calais' roads. I just think, as someone who lives on a plowed, sanded dirt road, I'm a bit appalled that my town has tax-paying citizens living on a road, on a 0.8-mile road, that is not taken care of, and that these people are paying taxes, that if they have a medical problem, an ambulance might not be able to get there. If the town truck can't even sand the road, then how are they going to ever get anyone to sand the road? This is something I think that, as citizens of Calais, as a select board, as a road commissioner, I think we need to take care of these people. They're paying taxes, or let's just give them back their taxes and let them, all maintain the road. I'm paying the same taxes, and I'm on a class 2 road, and these people are paying taxes, and they're not being taken care of by the town. And why is that fair? The roads of this town are meant to take care of the citizens. And at some point, Apple Hill was turned into a Class 4 road, who knows, 100 years ago. Turn it back into a Class 3 road. There's enough people living on it to make sense of that, you know? And they're paying taxes, so the money is coming in from that road. Let's just take care of it. That's my take.
So I'd like to clarify a couple of points there, and I do appreciate that input. As a non-resident of the road and standing up for the rights to access, I was just recently informed, it was one of the outstanding questions for me, was whether or not there was some sort of calculus that went into whether or not the valuation of those parcels or the taxation of those parcels is relative to the road class that they're on, and the answer to that is no. But the funding of the maintenance of that road, which is largely comes from the state grant program for road maintenance, is not assessed to Class 4 roads. So
It's only specific to Class 3.
yeah, it drops off precipitously after Class 3 roads. So, you know, the classification of the road is likely something that should be considered if we're at some sort of tipping point. But I think that that's also another interesting conversation to be had with other roads that have increased in population and usage since their declassification.
I mean, I would just say, just from a charitable place of a citizen of Calais, thinking that we might have to maintain a road that is 1% of all of our dirt roads for a couple of years while we make it a Class 3 road, that doesn't seem like it's going to come out of my tax-paying pocketbook in any noticeable way.
Yeah.
It's 0.8 miles. We got, what, 80 miles of Class 3 and 2 roads? That's, you know, it's not, this is not going to be, it's going to be like an adding error in the town budget. It's not going to affect my taxes in the least. Or maybe I'll pay $2 or $1.
Well, again, the point well taken. I don't want to get into the specifics. Part of it's being equitable to the other Class 4 roads that may want to rise to that same occasion and level of service, and making an equitable decision around how to treat those, because then those miles do add up.
Sure.
Just 0.8 miles. So, Mark, would you like to take a stab at
I had a
this?
speech prepared, but I don't know as I can follow that, John. I'm a little late right now. But no, okay, I guess what I was going to say is I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that there's a 25-year precedent here of the started by Don Singleton Jr. when he was road commissioner. He realized that there were six households up there of full-time residents.
Ray
Before
Bowles.
him,
I'm sorry?
before Singleton, Ray Bowles used to back up the hill and sand too.
I defer. Going back maybe 35 years. The town, when it was really icy, someone from the town would back a dump truck up there and sand the road. Maybe at the most 4 or 5 times a winter. And it really helps us out. We're really good at doing everything else on the road. We've got snow blowers, we've got plow trucks, we've got chainsaws. We're very self-reliant. The one thing we can't do is we can't deal with a day like Monday when the road looked like a coke bottle. We really needed a big truck with chains and some sand to make it so that we could get down. I had to drive Angus to his car with my tractor that day because that was the only thing that I could safely get down the hill on. When Alfie was road commissioner and when Junior was road commissioner and even before that, it wasn't a problem. They very well understood that there were certain times that some sand would save us, and it wasn't a big deal. There's a truck that comes down and has to turn around anyways at Elmsley Road, and so on those days, that truck would just continue up the hill, turn around in Alexandra's driveway, and come back down.
Or just keep going.
I don't know if they ever did that, Carl, but that's certainly something that they could do, is just keep going. But I'm just talking about, during the time that I've been there, this is what has been happening until John Stafford came along. And it was, so when, at first it was the smaller town trucks, because we only had single axle trucks.
Right.
Those were able to snake up and turn around pretty easily. When the big trucks started coming on the scene, the town road crew came, cut down some trees that were too close to the road, and Alexandra actually paid Alfie to do a bunch of work on her driveway, including substantially widening the entrance to her road. You can park 2 cars nose to nose across that driveway now, it's huge. And over the years, at least, I know for a fact that 4 different drivers have driven the big double axle trucks like there, turned around and come back down sanding dozens of times. Never once did they get stuck, and never once did any harm come to the truck. And if a couple more trees need to come down to allow that to happen, I don't think any of us mind. It was also really easy for the small truck to bring some sand up to us. That happened quite a bit recently, especially since Ogden joined the crew, because he seems to have a knack for getting that truck out to do what it needs to do. I was told that switching from salt to sand in that truck is too cumbersome at this point. And I'd like to know what is cumbersome about that, because it always worked fine before. And in fact, that truck is used, as far as I know, to spread sand on other smaller third-class dirt roads. At least it has been in the past. I'm not sure if it still is, but, so it generally spreads salt on the pavement and then comes back and gets some sand and does some sanding on some of the smaller
Yeah, I'd have to
dirt roads.
clarify that.
But yeah, so I just want it to be known that for a long time, it wasn't an issue to sand the road.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jeannie McLaughlin, and I live at 829 Apple Hill Road, and I've lived there for 34 years. And I'd like to talk more on a personal and safety level about the road and some of the examples of things that have happened there over the years. I'm going to be reading to you. Years ago, when the Savage family lived on the hill in the old farmhouse, there was a chimney fire. The only people at home at the time were 12-year-old Andrew and Jonathan. They called the fire department, but the truck couldn't make it. They amazingly had the wherewithal to put the fire out. Later, in an appropriate vehicle, a firefighter came up to make sure all was well. Flipping through pages here. More recently, one of our neighbors had an epileptic seizure. The ambulance came but couldn't drive up, so someone had to drive down to pick up an EMT and drive him up the hill. The EMT determined that our neighbor was stable enough to drive to the hospital in the car. Had he needed oxygen or further monitoring, it would have been a much more complicated situation. "34 years ago, there were 3 year-round households with 8 residents. Now we have 6 year-round households with 14 residents. We have neighbors over 80, little babies, and young children, as well as a big increase in the traffic over the hill from surrounding areas. my own experience. One icy morning, I had driven to the top of the first steep hill. As I tried to creep down the outside edge, that's a tactic we do up there, stay to the edge, the car started to slide and spun around, heading down the entire length of the hill backward. I landed in the ditch at the bottom, terrified. More recently, a neighbor, this is another neighbor, has become disabled, requiring a wheelchair, home health care, and other services. We need to know these healthcare providers will be able to navigate the road and provide essential service. Conditions have changed, but the maintenance of Apple Hill has not. Do we need to wait until a more serious incident, accident, or injury happens? Thank you.
I am Nathan Longo. I also live on Apple Hill and have, did you say for 34 years?
Yeah.
34 years. I also have the same concerns about safety. And I am quite competent winter driver, but I still have been challenged on the hill a number of times. You know, if it's two cars, you got a couple of bent fenders maybe, if one's coming up and one's going down, sometimes you cannot stop. That's not such a big deal, maybe damaged pride, but if it's a pedestrian, which people do walk up and down that hill, and sometimes you can't get off the road because of the snowbanks. That concerns me. This has been talked about a little bit before. We had a policy that was decided in 2007. This worked when the last two road commissioners were in charge. If we called, we would get sand. If it was just a really icy day, they would just sand it. Or if something's changed, either the road got narrower, or the trucks got bigger, or the guy in charge is different. Or for some reason, we have not been able to get any sand for a long time. I feel that if we had been treated with more reasonable common sense, we would be here now. People on Apple Hill would have continued doing what they're doing. However, here we are. I've had some time today driving around on Calais roads, and I was surprised to find many roads that are Class 3, that are plowed by the town, that in some cases result in the town plowing 1/4+ miles for one house. La Valley, Mirror Lake, Ledge Hill, Quarry Hill, these are just a few. These roads all are winding, steep roads that are plowed and sanded by the town. They are dead-end roads. In the past, we were told by the select board, well, you knew what you were getting into when you moved here. And he was right that we did. There were three houses on the hill, and I forgot how many residents. At the time, there were 3 permanent residents and no through traffic. Things change. There are now 6 permanent residents on 0.8 miles of Class 4 section, and there is a lot of through traffic. The higher density, that numerous dead-end roads that get town maintenance. I'm not sure how it is decided a road is Class 3 or Class 4, but to me it seems like this road deserves to be a Class 3 road. I just don't understand it. I really don't. I mean, we pay our taxes, and the town plows these roads that have one house on them. And yet we maintain a road that the town uses. I just don't think that's fair. And one other issue is that on the policy that was decided in 2007, it was stated that we needed written permission to plow the road. Do you have that?
I think we did back
We did
in
have it.
2007. That was part of the deal.
So, and it was good for 25
I
years?
just assumed it did. I don't know. I haven't checked.
So if I can just chime in, like, I hear and understand the frustration. They're certainly not in my handful of conversations that I've had with various select board members, CARD, and members of the community. Have there been a strong resistance to do this? I think one of my frustrations as a, I guess, relatively new resident, but certainly very new, select board member who, has had to figure out where the skeletons lie and what secret conversations or handshake deals have been made. It's really hard to maintain continuity of these practices, even when there are policies that aren't made with enough foresight and continuity to help maintain them. And so really this is really just an effort to hear some of this feedback, get some of that context, because some of us really don't have any of it, especially when you start to talk about multi-decade, arrangements and status quos that do evolve. I mean, trucks do get bigger and roads do get narrower, they get wider, and then people complain about them getting wider as frequently as they do about them getting narrower, and it's really hard to make a reasonable decision as somebody who has to, at the end of the day, make the decision or give the direction. So, as we continue to get this feedback, please know that nobody's trying to put anybody on the spotlight here. We're really just trying to get the context and the history to better understand the situation and the expectations of folks, so that if we are going to consider a class upgrade of the road, we do that with the input of the community members who are most impacted by that decision. So that is that.
But I have one small finer point, which was that I'm just curious about liability.
Yeah.
If we do have that signed thing that it's okay if we plow the road, are we liable, or if we don't have it, are we liable if something happens to somebody on that road?
That's a great question. And I don't have the answer to that. No. And I guess that I have a similar question on the town side. If we adopt or maintain or just maintain a decade's practice of sanding a road, at what point is the town liable for safety? And maybe it's for the safety of the residents on the road. I don't know. These are very hypothetical legal liability questions that I think it's a really important question to answer. And I think it's interesting that there's a obligation for permission to plow or maintain a road that the town doesn't, then says we don't have an obligation to maintain it. It's very confusing. Similarly, I have questions about, if we are considering some sort of regular sanding or maintenance or class upgrade, there's no way around dealing with the steepness of that road without significant, excavation and expense. So any increased effort to maintain that, more like any of our other class 3 roads, what are our obligations to make it passable for the other things that have increased, like the delivery services and the trash trucks that are also going to be attempting to go up that if it goes from a class 3
Are you
and
talking about the south side, or are you talking about the whole road? Because the south side is no steeper than a number of the roads that I listed. It is not. There's also no running.
no, I'm just, even if it's not an upgrade through the entire road, you're still then opening a door for a class 3 road to be used on half of the road for UPS and Casella and those others, so, you know,
Guys are like that down the road?
they do, and they occasionally get stuck and
Yeah.
have to be retrieved. I've seen the wrecker truck go by my house,
I know it happened.
despite the warnings. So the ability to control behavior is gonna be less. It's always impossible, but it's always going to be reduced. Anyway, I would prefer to not occupy this time with me talking. I want to hear from more residents that feel compelled to
Tough
speak.
being number 5 or 6, because everybody's pretty much said what I was going to say.
Okay.
My reason for being here was, I was more or less curious as to why the emergency sanding had stopped, you know? I was fine with that. I mean, it used to be a pretty simple process. You could just call. They wouldn't come over immediately, but they would say, you know, the next time we
Sure.
come up Elmsley Road, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And it would get done, you know? And it would only happen, like Mark said, like 4 or 5 times a year, you know, at most.
Yeah.
It's only when it's icy, so.
Would you say the icy situations have increased over that 30-year period, or?
Climate change.
Without a doubt.
For instance, last winter, it was pretty cold and dry. We didn't have any freezing rain. We didn't ask for sand all last winter because we just didn't need it.
That's interesting.
It varies a lot, but I would say at the most, it's been 5 times in a given winter. And way back when Junior was road commissioner, we didn't even have to call. If it was wicked icy out, you just came and sanded. It was amazing.
Yeah, we had, I thought we had an agreement with the town on that, because most of us had a meeting similar to this a long time ago, you know,
That was the 2007.
2007.
Red.
Okay, yeah.
So 18 years ago.
18 years.
Just to put a number on it.
Every once in a while.
Just saying.
Conversation.
So it's really good to hear about all this.
Well, we're on the north side.
Yeah.
That no one's talked about much yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not on the class 4 section.
It's
of
a
the
class
website.
3 part,
Would you
but I've
mind giving us
noticed,
your name, please?
I'm Mike Prue.
Thank you.
Tremendous amount increase in traffic over the years for sure, and the road has increased. You've been there 20 some odd since '98 anyway, so. The road's gone from a goat path with slate and you go very slow and bump up over it, even their side, in summer, to now, after the federal came through and did the ditches and everything, now it's a highway. Changed it dramatically. Our side of the hill, never, well, we're kind of alone over there, right? Doesn't get great maintenance either. We knew we were living on an icy, steep class 3 road, but it's a nasty bit to get up to our spot. Town does not get there immediately. So we have to have vehicles that get us up and down the hill. Over the years, we've also had to walk up and down the hill ourselves. Just to say, I understand what you guys are all saying about living up there. I loved it when they sanded up there and get you guys up and down the hill. Our side, until Mark and Stuart Savage used to plow a little bit down the hill and open it up. Mark has opened it up much better the last few years. Carlin worked in Montpelier for 20 years. When the snow would get built up, and after Stuart left, no one would plow, eventually people would come from the other side and come down the hill, and it's a straight shot. So with her 4-wheel drive Jeep and studded tires, you go up the top. So we've never asked for sand on that part, never had it, never wanted it. Don't want class 3 on that road at all. Understand your trouble with getting up and down the hill, people getting old, wanting safety stuff. We also know we bought and a pretty tough place to get in and out of, in the middle of Calais, and so, hey, emergency vehicles don't get to our house either. Didn't get to her father on the Class 3 road years ago either. So we've all got that problem living out here wherever we live. So making it a Class 3 or 4, I don't know what that would do for anybody. We walk up and down Apple Hill. I parked at the very bottom of the hill many times to get to my house over the years and waited for the plow trucks to come and do their thing. I've seen my neighbors go down like this by my house in the ice and get up in the ditch. Help them try to get out, whatever you can do. So I told people, GPSs send cars over Emsley's Road down our side to get over to where we are. I told people from Connecticut with 2 babies in their cars saw a pile of snow and drove their SUV with summer tires down over the hill to get stuck.
They're going to like Airbnbs in the neighborhood.
So, you know, you just
They
can't,
end up on
you just
our
can't, you know, you just can't fix everything all the time. The backing up the hill, especially with the smaller sanding trucks, it's a no-brainer, people. Why are we even here talking about it? Like you said, we all pay taxes. Get these people some help, some safety, get up and down that side of the hill.
And that
Don't
road
need to
is-
make it a big, wide open road. Yes, there's more traffic. We all have more traffic. We have to have people building houses. We have more development. We can't stop it. I'm sorry, but just back a truck up that hill once in a while and give them some sand. It's simple.
And I would
It's
say,
simple.
you know, even like the north side of it, if that other side of the hill is blocked, there's a lot of people on top of that hill that can't get off the hill until that other vehicle is moved, which could take hours. So, and it does take hours. Sometimes it has taken a day or more on our side of the hill to get a car removed. And, you know, I just recently twice seen a emergency vehicle heading by our house up to one of the neighbors' houses, and I go, shit, you know, what are they gonna do in the winter? You know, like, I've grown up on that road. I grew up on the exact opposite end of Apple Hill Road, and I've watched that road, what we all called the dump road when I was a kid, evolve over the years. I don't understand why Elmsley Road is a Class 3 road, and it's not even wide enough to, there's so much liability on the town there, having that a Class 3 road that's one lane in quite a few areas of it. So I think it'd just be in the town's interest to help a lot of people on Apple Hill out and get some sand up there when it's needed. We're not asking you to do everything. I appreciate the no maintenance winter signs. It sometimes helps delivery people that are gonna get stuck stay off the hill. Not always. But pretty self-sufficient folks. And also, not that, you know, anybody's had to call on us that much, but everybody is gonna help everybody out. And we help everybody out that comes over that hill in the winter and thinks they're going to an Airbnb in the country and ends up stranded. But it'd be nice if emergency vehicles in particular could help everyone out.
And one note that I did hear earlier, and it is interesting, the town does use that road. Especially this summer when they blocked off the other roads and used that one as the only way around for people. It was their, what do you call it?
Well, it wasn't the only way around, but
it was a
became-
detour. And they went and freshened up the hill, put some fresh gravel on, put some pretty big stone on our side actually, and then we don't get enough traffic to pack it, but we got enough to make it washboard. And they were nice enough to leave it the rest of the summer, so. But they used it, and they don't maintain it. And when the garbage trucks and the dump trucks go up over the top in the spring, when the guy goes, oh, the hill's open, I can make it over, and puts ruts as deep as these chairs, the town doesn't fix it. But they use it, and they let them use it.
We
So.
haven't had a road sign on the other side of Apple Hill.
temper tones.
decades.
You know, it's important to hear the feedback, but I
I didn't mean to get
really
excited.
lose
sorry.
patience with accusatory tones. Not
Well-
many of us are involved in those
The
decisions.
town of using the road.
Oh, no, I was just saying, the town uses the road.
I know, I hear,
Okay.
heard.
I didn't mean to say it like.
To any other members in attendance President, want to just weigh in a little bit, Joe?
Yes,
Yeah.
so my name's Joe Bain, I live on Bain Caboli Road. And my family's been around town for a long time. And I have an attachment to Apple Hill Road because that's the whole reason I'm here, is Apple Hill Road. Back in the 40s, my grandfather was stationed in France in the army, and he came to visit his friend who lived in the Savage House on Apple Hill Road. So when he was visiting, he took his Willys Jeep down the north side, and back then the road went straight across at Newger Brook. Newger Brook Road wasn't there. And the road went straight across, went right to my house, and that's where it ended up, on the Bain side of the Bain Camoli Road, and that's where the road stopped. So that's kind of like the whole reason I'm here is the Apple Hill Road. And I do like the way it is now. I'd hate to see it ever put to a class 3. It's just going to allow more traffic. And the road's great the way it is. I actually enjoyed it better when they didn't plow the steep end. It is a dangerous side of the hill to go down in the wintertime. I agree they did ruin the roads when they ditched them really big. And that is the issue on your guys' side, is the road's so skinny because the ditches are so large.
Yeah.
Which could be remedied by filling them in a little bit to make the road a little wider. They always sanded up there. There was never any issue with it. I understand it's an intimidating hill up there. But so is the hill I live on. I know it's a little wider, but it's not as, Apple Hill's not as steep as the one I'm on, so. I know the trucks can get there and they can turn around, so I don't see why it's a big deal just to give them a little bit of sand. Back when I was a kid, they never maintained the Elmsey Road. It was always unplowed all winter. So I don't see why that road gets full maintenance every time it snows, plowed and sanded, and these guys just can't get a little sand once in a while. Because no one really does live on the Elmsey Road. There's that one house, and those are summer folks, I think, but I'm sure they come now more in the winter time, but it's just pretty easy to back up the hill and get a little bit of sand.
All right, Joe. Looks like we've got a handful of folks on Zoom. Curious whether, I don't see any residents. On there? Oh, I'm sorry.
Jake is third class card.
Yeah.
Yo, does anybody on Zoom who's presently muted want to register some comments? I'll hold off. Anybody else? Jade?
We're in the bathtub over here at 1219, so I just want to thank everybody for what you're doing. And yeah, no other comment that hasn't already been said.
Okay, thank you, Jade. Further comments of folks in the audience?
Oh, Nathan's looking at me. Well, I'm Ben Myers. I moved in recently to the Alexandra house. I think maybe that's how we refer to for who knows how long. But it'll eventually be.
Leave.
Yeah, not till we leave. Yeah, that's right. And then it'll be then in Kelsey, That's exactly right. I mean, I'm a freshman coming here to a bunch of seniors. You know, I think that Kelsey and I, you know, I'll say it like this. You're getting a wealth of information, more than I could ever give you, because I just moved here 2 years ago. I kind of knew what I was signing up for. Now I have a daughter. She's about to turn 1, and that kind of changed my outlook a little bit. But that being said, you know, I don't know how this stuff works. I've never lived on a class 3, or I've always been on pavement my entire life. And so I really came to just kind of hear fellow neighbors kind of, and like you said, I actually don't know your name, I'm sorry.
Jordan.
Jordan, like you said, there's these decade-long things that have been going on that it's a saga. And I mean, it's just nice to kind of hear.
And we always only give them 30 minutes in the agendas.
Yeah, so anyway, the sand sounds great. I think the only thing that Kelsey and I were weary of was just some really ridiculous widening of the road being, you know, super, super huge. We love the feeling of it being narrow and kind of traversing to our house, you know. But then again, we're really pretty amenable to anything. I know there seems like there's a force and an energy towards making this thing better, and I'm just like, whoa, yeah, that sounds great. So again, I don't have the wealth of knowledge. I'm just, you know, we're just kind of watching and seeing what happens. And the ambulance safety's big. Safety's very big for us.
Yeah.
But also keeping it, you know, quaint and small, so, yeah. Oh, one question. You, actually, you said it. What, there's that turnaround in our driveway, and it seems like it's embedded into stone that they turn around and come down, but me and Kelsey are wondering, well, why don't they just continue down? And I don't, there must be a good reason, but why isn't that the case? They
The
just
other side's too steep in the winter.
They just don't do it because of that?
It's just too unbelievably steep.
Gotcha, yeah.
It was better when they didn't maintain that, they never plowed it in the winter.
Right.
And you preferred that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's less traffic for these people have to deal with in the winter time, and it's a dangerous road anyway for winter travel, so.
I see.
Yeah, it was better when they didn't plow it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because then it just cut people off right there.
People wouldn't go up there, yeah.
Yeah, we
It
go
was
up.
better when nobody lived up there.
But Joe, that's my fault. I made the decision to plow all the way through.
Okay.
And thank you for doing
The
that.
garbage truck was sideways on the south side
Yeah.
for 4 hours.
Oh, so you get out.
And the only way any of us could get to
Trapped.
school or to work was down the back side.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just gonna plow from now on.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And then
appreciate
another
that.
dump truck did the same thing this year, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone, for the comments and participating. I guess I'd like to turn back to the select board and see if there are any specific,
We got a heart.
any specific questions or clarifications, and maybe have a little bit of a conversation around kind of next steps and how we want to move forward. Does anybody on the select board have any particular questions that haven't been raised or comments about it?
Can I check my understanding of this?
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is pretty solid support for the occasional sanding, as has been going on for decades. I'm not hearing strong alignment around upgrading the road to a class 3. I mean, I'm hearing some voices of that, but
What would upgrading the road entail? Because I have no idea.
So I can't say specifically. I would want to do an analysis. My gut says that would not be a net positive financially. There is some state money attached to class 3 roads, but the standards of bringing that up to, bringing it up to class 3 standards would be an investment up front, and then it would mean, more maintenance as we do all the other roads. And I'm fairly certain that would cost.
And even that is like, that's like the benchmark, because there are specific requirements. We have, as a town, we have modified requirements for roads, which is a whole other conversation. But then for the funding that we receive from the state, there's an obligation to maintain the road to that level. There are likely examples in the community of class 3 roads that do not quite meet that bar, but there is a commitment to work in that direction over time. So I don't want to open that whole can of worms for discussion right now, but I think it would take some assessment for sure. I think one of the big questions for me is what's reasonable, how frequent, when do we do it if it's not getting done at a rate that is considered, or at a frequency that is considered reasonable, and which other roads do we need to have an eye on servicing similarly, and just so that we can put kind of a flag in the ground and say, like, this is how we're doing it in this point in time relative to these conversations. And this is what everybody's expectations are around the performance of that particular work. Is that sufficiently ambiguous for everybody? Yeah. Very non-committal. I took Kari's point here that it seems like there's some consensus around maintaining a status quo that is relative to maintaining kind of safe passage for the residents, that is not a full-on upgrade and commitment to class 3 maintenance standards. And so now I think we have to kind of have a conversation around, what's that frequency, what's going to be the trigger? Is there going to be somebody any of the residents who call and say that there needs to be some sanding, or is it a judgment call of the road commission, or of the road commissioner or the foreman? That's also new, so it's a role that hasn't existed until a couple of years ago. So, and we need to set that expectation for the town staff as well. Like this is what we're committing to do it. So icy conditions, I think, is still a little ambiguous to me, especially as we're moving towards these situations where we're talking about increased expectations on passability and an increased frequency of situations that are gonna generate icy events. Like I don't think we're trending in a direction where the roads are gonna be less icy. They may be less snowy, but there's more likely going to be cases of icy conditions that are treacherous, and we want to make sure we're avoiding those.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
Well, my question is, how do you decide when to sand all the other roads? And why would you not sand Apple Hill at the same time? Apple Hill has more traffic than a lot of roads in this town that get sanded regularly. And I mean a lot more traffic.
Yeah.
And I do not understand why I can't get the same amount of sand that every other road gets. There was a while, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when one of the guys in the road crew did that. He would sand the south side of the hill every time he sanded the road. Somebody heard about it and he was told to stop.
That's a fair question.
I think it's the class 4, class 3 distinction. I think that's.
What's that?
I think it's the class 4, class 3 distinction.
Yeah, well,
That's what makes it.
the number doesn't mean anywhere near as much to me as safety does.
I understand.
Did you have conversations, Kari, with John about his concerns around which truck was going up? Like big truck versus little truck?
Yeah, somewhat. And again, this is all actually news to me. I thought we were all on the same page that the occasional sanding was what we were gonna do. And so last week when I got pushback on it, it was a surprise to me. I didn't want to push too hard because it was a tricky period of time. I intend to follow up more, get more details. And I think another factor is, as Mark said, last year this really didn't come up much.
Yeah, I just
So
wonder if
it's
there's
actually-
just a break in experience and understanding.
So John's new, I'm new, I think,
Yep.
you know, and I kind of assumed that some of these requests were going directly to the garage and they were responding. And so I apologize, I've been in the dark on this, but it's on my radar now.
I do want to move on, but I do think that we're in a period of time where something needs to be, some direction needs to be given in the interim before we can likely get back to meeting and having more of a conversation. Is that a fair assessment to folks? Like, I think we need to have a little bit of a conversation about approving the sanding of Apple Hill, or until.
It seems to me two things need to happen, or maybe three. One is that we perhaps go back to the norm that folks on Apple Hill were used to, with practice of sanding when sanding's needed. And also, we need to look at what are the other roads that might be impacted by this, and if we have any other issues like that. And then I think the third piece is just, is that sufficient? You know, give understanding what the road crew believes or has in mind about this. Is there a sufficient condition for that to be successful?
Mm-hmm.
And we let it be there and see if the community is the residents are happy with it after however many months or weeks, we have left. I'm not totally clear, Jordan, what you mean in terms of further discussion, because I think we probably do need to consider what other roads are or are not addressed in the same way, and if there's aspects that need to be considered. And I would just, a friendly question about whether we should have a private citizen plowing a third-class road, if that maybe isn't.
It's fourth class.
I'm sorry, if I understood correctly, you're plowing the other side that is third class.
No, it's
No,
class
I'm
4.
plowing the fourth class.
Fourth class portion,
Yeah,
thank you,
from-
I misunderstood,
no,
I
that's fine.
misunderstood, yeah, okay. So, that's not an issue then.
No.
Take that one
We
right
have
off.
enough issues.
Yeah, but,
Okay.
that would be my thought. Is that responsive to where you were at?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's general broad support for, at least for now, continuing the precedent of, on a really icy day, getting some sand on the steep section of the road there. Whether they call or, you know, whoever's on the Elmsley route sees that it's icy.
Yeah.
Can we come this?
Yeah, and I think that the policy allows for that, right? It's
Yeah.
a case-by-case
It absolutely
basis.
does.
I guess it empowers the road commissioner to make the call, which I have a better understanding now than 2 weeks ago. I guess I would say, please prompt me, because we're not going to be looking for that necessarily. We're not junior. In contrast, but I think if you email me, you call me, I think that's the mechanism.
Perfect.
And I guess I'd take that one step forward, like further. I mean, I think the feedback needs to go to John that like the expectation is that for the time being that there's interest in maintaining the status quo until we can kind of better evaluate how to modify the policy in a way that better defines this. And that, important feedback from John is going to be which rig is going to be doing it and how. Do any adjustments need to be made? And then a list of the handful of other class 4 roads. I think like the northeast side of like Peck Hill has a very similar residential makeup and topography and everything else. So like, let's just get a list of what those are and make sure that we're responding to residents' needs or interests on those roads too, or at least prepared to respond to them. In the meantime, get Apple Hill to the point where we're maintaining kind of a status quo for now, with a little better dialogue around what that frequency looks like. It's probably not going to be every snowstorm and plowing event, which doesn't sound like that was the expectation, but it's when asking for it, if it isn't already done during icy events. Well, that was only an hour. So
If I could just say 2 things.
Yes, please, Bill.
I go back to your grandfather's time, Joe. I remember him, and I remember when Apple Hill was mostly just summer, it was all summer folks. So you never plowed it, never did anything with it. But life has changed. There's a lot of people out there now. And I think we should be sanding it when it needs to be sanded. But if there's problems with tree branches damaging the vehicle, the trucks or anything, we'll have to get a tree service in there to take care of it. Because you certainly don't want to damage trucks for that. But I do think if it needs to get done, it needs to get done.
Well, again, thank you everyone for the information, the context, the community discussion. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, of course. And we're going to move on to the fiscal budget conversation.
It's gonna be exciting.
I assume everyone's sticking around.
Thanks for coming out.
There won't be offended if we leave.
Never offended. You used to.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Thank you all.
Thank
Your class too. To stick up for us. That means so much to me.
The elite.
Yeah. Yes.
We need a pause, or you just want to roll into it? Just roll into it.
you.
storm.
I can't.
Well, you have to enjoy the boring. It's a very kind of Buddhist, like Zen.
Some of the time.
Rain check.
Good night, you guys.
Good night.
So, fair to probably just start with everybody who's able to find the most updated version of the fiscal 27 budget worksheet, which has been updated as noted by Kari in the memo with the changes that we kind of gained consensus around. Those were kind of the big.
That's the one that was in the.
Yeah, in the
Yeah,
folder.
it's dated 12/31.
Since it was put in there, okay.
No.
Yeah.
What does the orange indicate?
Oh, that is the numbers the figures that affect payroll taxes.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, so you could ignore that and pull that off.
Okay.
That's from mine. So yeah, I did the changes that you agreed to last time. I put in a $10,000 stipend for the road commissioner, which was the thing that Barbara, Jordan, and I discussed around basically a pay increase for me. And then just on Wednesday, I added the property casualty and workers' comp insurance rates. And those, we took a hit on that. That was like almost 10% increase. Good.
So I guess the point of clarification is that, and maybe we're doing this in a little bit of the wrong order, and I don't mean to dig into this particular topic, but did you take the inputs from our conversation about your compensation for this fiscal year? Those are all in all in this. Great, thank you.
Yeah, and so with those changes, we're now at a general government and highway department combined 3.3% expense increase. And when you add the special warned articles, it's 4.1% all in. Then the one item that's outstanding is the ambulance budget, which would be on the warrant articles side. If we are able to reduce that by 10,000, then we would have a combined 3.6% budget. And we'll meet on Wednesday with the fire department. Hopefully finalize that.
Right.
One thing I just want to highlight is that one of the reasons it's as low as it is we pulled the truck payment out first year, saying we're going to pay for that out of reserve.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like buying down the increase, right?
Yeah, because it will happen next year.
It will
unless we
happen
do the
next
same
year.
thing.
It's 3% of the budget. It's just built in increase next year before we do anything. I just want to point that out because I always warn people not to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well, why do we feel we have to do that, I guess is my question.
Well, I think we started at 11%, right? And we were thinking about ways to reduce that to.
But it's kicking the can down the road pretty hard, isn't it?
If we didn't do that with the truck, would it be 11% or lower than 11%?
No.
It's about 3%.
So it would be 3.6.
So 6?
We'd be at 7.1,
Yeah.
unless the ambulance doesn't.
Or we could split the difference and do
Sure.
half of it this year, looking at more like a 5% this year, and then
Sure.
it'll be less of a leap next year.
Exactly.
That's a good.
Yeah, less
That's
painful
what
next year.
You want me to model it and bring it to you?
Well, because, sorry,
Or to
we're paying
part-
this with capital
Capital reserve.
reserve, okay.
From
Pulling from the capital reserve instead of paying it from
taxes.
taxes.
Okay. Yeah, so sharing, it seems to me sharing is a good idea. I really like that idea.
Thanks.
Give me a minute.
But you don't want to prolong the
Well, I
phase?
just think
Yeah.
that the townspeople said they wanted to buy a truck
Uh-huh.
and pay for it, and we did that, and we're doing that. But to pull it out of reserve means we're taking it out of something else versus using the reserves for something that really requires reserves, like a habit, we need to buy a truck right away.
Mm.
That's my feeling about that.
Mm-hmm.
The town has spoken.
I guess my counter to that would be whether or not, or maybe this is another area of clarification, is whether or not there's an advantage to like buying down principal, for instance, because we're applying that towards an outstanding loan.
Well,
Is that right?
we're paying the same amount either way, it's just whether it's out of capital or out of tax revenue. We're not paying extra on the truck, right?
Are we using the decision to, yeah.
Like we make the
So-
same loan payment.
Right, but you're taking money out of a reserve, which wasn't designated for
Right.
that. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
I don't want my taxes to go up either, but it's just that it just seems like you have to stop somewhere and say, we have to pay our obligations out of current funds.
Just an aside, Kari, you lost your connection.
Oh.
What was the increase last year? Overall percentage increase?
7?
I guess around 7.
Yeah, around 7. I just have it in here.
So, just a thought.
Bill raises a good point.
Agreed.
What is the capital reserve funds?
It is, it's in the notes. I see it.
Our proposed budget for general government was 7.3% less than the year before. Oh,
This is general government.
yeah. And the roads were 14.8% increase. The combined was 4.9%. And then including all other warrant articles, it was 4.4% more than the prior.
I kind of thought we got it down below 5.
I stand corrected, we did a great job last year.
Nobody goes unpunished though.
Yeah.
With healthcare, that's what's driving this whole thing.
Yes, and we can't avoid that. And it's gonna keep happening.
Yeah, and I guess it's probably important to note that we're currently enjoying a pretty limited increase that we're seeing from a recent change. And that there's a possibility that we're not going to enjoy that same next year. So, you know, I guess if we want to like maybe think about splitting the difference and maybe doing a partial offset with capital reserve funds this year to leave some of that buy down power for next year, should we find ourselves in even stronger pressures, fiscal pressure, then, or just not do it at all. I mean, I'm not particularly lobbying for anything in particular. I do think that
We're not putting anything in the capital reserve fund this year from this budget, is that correct?
No.
Okay, because that
That's
was,
not, no plan to.
right,
We have a policy that if there's any excess, you know,
Right.
any savings, that
Right.
automatic, from the highway department budget, it automatically goes in.
and so we did that in this past year, correct?
I don't think we did it last year. Last year, we did something to replenish it, which was we took funds from the equivalent from the FEMA fund that had been used to pay for things we'd already budgeted and paid for, and put it into so our labor and our equipment use, things that we had already paid for with our taxes, we put that amount of money into the equipment fund. It doesn't show it. What the highway capital equipment fund is. I want to say it's in the neighborhood of like 160,000. So it's a good amount. One more factor to consider, like all the points, for a while there, I was thinking, I wasn't sure what to do, but John's been advocating for going ahead and lining up the purchase now because prices are on the rise. And I was actually thinking about bringing you a proposal for next week to make a commitment for the new truck so that we could lock in pricing. That, who knows? But the word he's getting as he's seeking these quotes is these are going to change soon.
One last question, I guess I have about it is like, I guess what is the capital reserve fund for the highway department used for, if not to pay for these types of things? I mean, I hear Bill's point for unexpected things, and the voters have approved for the bonding and financing of the new truck, or at least we did. We didn't bond for the truck payments, but
we used it to pay off the mower in my time. We had leased that and decided to just eliminate that from the budget by using the reserve fund, and then we also used it to purchase the new truck, and then we replenished it with that few money.
Yeah.
And my first year, there was a savings on the highway department budget that we put in. So, but it's highway capital equipment. There's only so many things that we would spend it on. Oh, the generator was my
so that plays into the point that I think you raised in your memo about servicing our debt burden, particularly with the bonds, and even those are, I think at some point we're going to have to look at these reserve funds and be a little strategic about how we may want to choose to pay down principal on these loans sooner, to either open up the capacity to leverage for a new truck purchase instead of using capital. I mean, I think the worst position that we could be in would be to be chiseling away at that capital reserve fund or expending it on a truck purchase or partial truck purchase, and then at some point not replenishing it fast enough, and all we're doing is carrying debt, and then we don't have any options. So what do we want the decision? I'm not hearing, I guess, a firm consensus around what we do about buying down those payments. Sounds like there is an appetite for absorbing some increase in the percent increase in our budget to reduce the amount that we're using.
What's the total amount?
What total numbers are
What's the total amount of that payment for next year?
Oh, I don't know the interest rate. I haven't done the financing, but somewhere in the high 50,000 per year for 5 years. Principal and interest.
So if we...
And the current budget has zero.
Zero.
Right. If we split the budget, it would be 1.5%. or something.
1.5%, 2%, somewhere in there. And I can certainly get more clear on that, and you could consider a week from now. We probably, when you have to make a decision, we have to have the warning reflect that.
Yeah.
That all has to be finalized next Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I would almost lean that way. I've been thinking about future years' budgets and all the unknown with the school, but if that moves forward, then we could have big decisions to make in the next year about the school building, which is going to be very expensive, potentially.
So don't wipe out our reserves?
Right, it just feels like if we have the flexibility and we feel comfortable to do not all of it from the reserve, we might be glad we did later.
Bill, would you be good with that? I'm sort of in that space of the sharing, not going all the way in, but not eliminating the line item from the budget entirely, I think is prudent, given where we've gotten to with the other,
The other ones.
the other reductions that have been made.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't necessarily like it, but I'll agree to it. But next year, when I want to see, what are we putting back in the reserve fund? Is there anything?
Right.
We don't want to do it again,
Yeah.
Right, so, and next year we'd end up with another 50 plus payment, correct? That would be
Yeah.
a line item.
But at
and
least
then-
half of it would have been covered in this budget, so you don't feel the difference in the same way.
Right, and I would just suggest that we're making that a note to the community so folks can see that that's what we've done.
Yeah.
And the point about somehow a marker to our, a reminder to ourselves that if there are other ways, like, the way you used the FEMA money before, or there's an excess this coming year somehow, that we do that we continue to try to work through pushing more funds into the capital reserve.
I listened to the governor over the weekend, had an interview with him, and it's just, they're gonna try to buy the budget down here in the state, but then eventually we're gonna have no more money left in the general fund to do any of that stuff. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah, Tegan.
anecdotally, I do hear about towns that are maybe really working their reserve funds to the point where they can buy trucks instead of doing bonds and doing all the interest payments.
Yeah.
And they say, yeah, it sucks. Sucks for the first number of years you're doing this. It's a lot of money and you feel like it's, it takes a lot of convincing of the people, but they're so happy that they did it. They're so happy to be able to not worry about interest and not worry about things down the line. So there are towns that have done it and might have words of wisdom if we wanted to move in that direction.
Yeah, well, so an example of that would be, remember we talked about having 3 dump truck payments at certain times? So when we go back to 2, let's just keep the 3rd one in there and put it into the reserve fund.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna be very hard to add anything extra.
Right.
But holding on to it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, because eventually we want to get to the point where the capital is just a steady state,
Yes.
more or less.
Yeah.
And the taxpayers don't notice from year to year.
That's right.
Right. Good.
I like that.
All right.
All right, so we'll then entertain a number that is going to look like somewhat of a splitting of the difference
So half.
for next time. Was there any other line items that we need to have some significant discussion around? So I think the only other one is going to be the East Montpelier Fire Department, how that shakes out through the next round of meeting with them. But
Yeah.
it sounded like there's at least alignment around that proposal with the East Montpelier Selectboard, and that's how
I thought it worked pretty well, that Bill and I are basically saying this is what Calais wants.
Yeah.
We didn't actually need other voices. We were heard, and in some ways it's just, this is it. And we'll see how they respond on Wednesday, but Seth seemed to be nodding a lot, and I got the sense that East Montpelier will join us.
Sorry, were you just talking about do we need to be at that meeting? Are we talking about that at this moment? We can leave it for later.
Yeah.
No, I was just asking if there are any other line items. I think at this point we're pretty well refined with the budget, and so by the next meeting, we'll be having a decision to approve it as
On
is.
the 12th, yeah.
All right.
Is this the order that it's presented? I didn't have my book with me to compare when I was looking at this.
Yes.
So the select board was first?
Yep.
Okay.
Select board stipends.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, why are we
No.
getting more than 6% increase? Why, we're going from 8,000 to 8,500, is that
It's
the practice?
$100 each.
Sorry?
It's $100 each.
I understand, but is there a reason, Is that just the norm that has always happened?
Oh, boy. I don't know. I don't remember.
No, it's not. There was a period of time when they received nothing,
Right.
so.
And then the select board before 2023, or going into 2023, tried to reduce the amount of the stipends.
But then it was,
But then at town meeting, people said, no, that's ridiculous, put it back up and give it more.
Uh-huh.
So there's been no consistent pattern, it's whatever you all decide.
It could be less of that if you're concerned about the optics or something. I think it's good to always have some increase in there and keep up with inflation sort of thing, or even ahead. It's, I mean, for anybody who might find the financial part to be a barrier to serving.
Yeah, that's, I hear that, okay. It just, since, you know, the items that were in orange, I was paying more attention to.
Yeah.
And so it really jumped out at me.
Yeah, it won't be an orange.
No, I understand. I don't care what color
It
it's
won't
on.
have a percentage either, so.
Yeah.
Any other conversation about the worksheet? Concerns? Everybody pretty comfortable? I think we're arriving at consensus around being able to approve that for next time.
Yeah.
The last edit. Thanks, Cory.
Yeah, great
that's
work.
good.
Yeah, almost there.
We do have a period of belated public comment up. And looks like we've got Bill. Curious if Bill's got any comment?
No, all set. Thanks for asking.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. Then we will move on to some of the administrative items. Pretty short list this week. Approving of the minutes from the December 15th select board meeting. So everybody will find a copy of those in the shared drive. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Can we get a motion to approve the minutes as posted to the shared drive?
So moved.
second.
Awesome. All in favor? Aye. Vote to approve the board orders.
Sorry, there was just a misspelling of Bill's name in the top.
Okay.
Didn't-
Did everybody have an opportunity to review the board orders that were posted to the shared drive?
Yes.
I did.
Can I get a motion
I had,
to?
I just
Yep.
one question.
Sorry, Bill.
We spent a bunch of money on the loader and we had some more loader repairs. Remember what that's for? Or just, you heard about it, but I, you know, it's another $4,000 or something.
Yeah.
You know, I can look at this. It's more of a curiosity. I'm not gonna vote no against it,
It is very expensive, and it's also very old.
The loader.
but so am I.
Here.
And you're getting more.
You're gonna get more expensive too, Bill.
Part of it was a service visit, the van had to come down, but there's quite a description there. I believe that's the one. I'll find it.
What's that?
Here it is. This is-
I think it's still just.
The Apple Hill folks are still.
Yeah, they're still hanging out
They're
there.
so connected.
All with their large four-wheel
We
drives.
need to have a potluck, clearly.
Okay.
Feel like-
So moved.
So moved. Just for clarification, this whole list of social services, that's what was voted on in
Yes.
March of last year.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, we waited until December.
Yeah, till we collect all the taxes,
Yeah,
so
okay,
there's no cash,
great.
you know, challenges.
You actually have to submit your request for the next year before you write a check. It's a little disorienting.
We did write one check to window dressers because they requested it early.
Okay.
Just, who made the motion? Did somebody make a motion? Bill?
Bill made the motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Town meeting warning, which was also posted to the shared drive. in draft form. Did everybody have an opportunity to review that? Looks like,
It's very similar to last time, but the attorney has now reviewed it, and we're still waiting on the Zoom link, the ambulance budget, ambulance impact, and Barbara alerted you that there may be a petition for an article, and we learned today that the Bear, is it Bear?
It is called the Bear, it's under Bear, but it's the Adamant Music School.
It's called what?
It's the Adamant Music School, is what we're talking about.
Okay.
It may request of you or petition an article for tax exempt status.
Have they gone to the listers?
Yes.
They did, they didn't see that process through.
What?
So my understanding is there's two paths to this. One is that they can, the more common is to get tax exempt status from the state. It's a state application that the listers actually approve. And the attorney said that oftentimes there'll be disputes about that that can drag on and on and on. It'll go to the, they'll appeal that, it'll go to the BCA, then it can go to the district court and Supreme Court eventually. Or certain categories, and we're not sure that a music school qualifies, can go to the voters of the town, similar to the community center and the rec association have tax.
Is it not a 501c3?
I don't know what your status is.
Even if it does, it's not really mentioned in the statute.
Okay.
So it's not there. They did have partial tax exempt status back in the 70s and 80s. 70%, I want
We're
to
talking
say.
about property tax.
Property, yeah, our.
And the
yeah,
town,
yeah,
so it's the
tax.
town's decision.
Yes.
Anyway,
Okay.
I offered to work with them, and I told them the timeline is it has to
Okay.
be prepared this week, or we need to petition next week, is the 15th is the deadline,
So their current status is they're paying normal property tax?
Yeah, in 7 parcels, yeah. So it seems a little complex, but if they want to bring it forward, they'll know how to do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure what they'll do.
Okay. So the warning is not final yet?
My only, a small thing was just the list of the social service organizations, can we line up the dollar amounts?
Was it not?
It's just, it's left justified instead of being.
They line the dollar
justified.
sign versus the zero.
Yeah, it's aligned by the dollar sign. If you want it to be right aligned, I can.
It's just, I think it might just visually for folks be easier if you would mind.
We can do it.
Could leave the dollar sign where it is and move the amounts over, so.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
that's,
Yeah,
counting style.
yeah.
yeah.
Easy.
I'm sure team can figure it out. No question.
I can Google what the best of them.
There you go.
I'd like
That's why they
the
paid the
record
big
to
bucks.
reflect that Barbara was requesting a formatting change.
Could we add, could we add a page number at the bottom of the page?
You want a page number?
Yes.
Um,
I like page numbers because then somebody, what page are you on? And they know what page. Of course, this is gonna be in the, it's gonna have a page number anyway,
Yes.
Right,
right?
it's in the
Yeah.
town report.
Okay, good.
That's what Gus will work off those.
Okay, thank you.
So the other thing was, past couple of years, we've had, the last select board meeting before town meeting was advertised as a
Informational session.
Informational session. There was actually a hearing when we had the road bond. Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to do, to invite people, it's a chance for them to learn more and talk more than a town meeting, and it's a chance for us to practice any presentation we want. So I would propose we do that on February 23rd. It's just a matter of building it and making it an agenda.
And that's sort of a dry run of the
Yeah.
budget presentation that you've
Exactly.
done and
Yeah.
that I think is very successful.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yes. I do think the terminology real estate acquisition is going to cause questions, so we just will want to be prepared to use that terminology throughout, and I think it's just a point in Christie's report that that new language needs to be in there.
So the lawyer wanted real estate instead of
That was
land?
their suggestion, to broaden it from land to real estate,
Okay.
right? Everybody agrees
Well,
on
it
that?
won't limit it, yeah, less limiting later.
Yeah,
You don't have to do it, but it's.
and
I think it makes, I think.
It's fine, I just think it'll be like, what?
So in the past, we've done some anticipated questions that we can come up with answers to, and, standardized responses and practice.
Mm-hmm.
We can have that one.
Yes.
You just say Corey.
I don't think we want to do that. I mean, I think I had a very similar reaction to that. I guess I think it's something that could raise a lot of questions. I think that is in part the rationale for making it kind of a token amount, but there's a little bit of ambiguity about like the land acquisition for what purpose, or real estate acquisition for what purpose. That more I think about it, I don't know that there's a way to really clear that up. If anybody has.
Well, it's in Christie's report.
Well, it was pretty vague, and I don't think we want to make it real specific, right?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any way of presenting that, I guess is what I'm saying, to mitigate the ambiguity around it. It's just going to raise questions. The best we can do is prepare to kind of respond to them.
And let people know, there's no secret plan here.
No.
We're just trying to prepare for the future.
Yeah. Right. So we can't approve this now, but we'll wait for those last bits of information. I guess probably look at approving that in the next meeting with the draft budget, I'm assuming, right? That'd be the most appropriate. At that point, assuming the budget numbers aren't changing so much, we can have those numbers filled in. And then at that point, we should have all the potential petitions in.
Well, the petitions will be by the 15th.
By the 15th. Meeting's the 12th.
Yeah, petitions would be separate from your approval process. You just add it.
You just add it.
Well, they'd still have to
We'd have to approve the
sign the
language.
warning after.
With them on
there.
meeting.
But we could do that the next meeting after.
I'd have to look at the dates.
26th?
Yeah, it'd be tight. I'd have to double check. I know the ballots are not usually printed by then because I think candidates don't need their paperwork in until like the 26th, 27th. But I would have to double check the date on the warning.
You got any petitions for candidates yet?
No, but I have mine with me if anyone wants to sign it after the meeting's over.
Okay.
Does anybody have mine? Okay, I'll find mine.
As an aside, saw there was a really interesting conversation on the listserv about some towns will send the paperwork to incumbents, just to be like, here's your paper, be ready. And some people are like, no, that's playing favorites. You can't assume anything about anyone. Everyone has to take their own initiative. People have very strong feelings about whether or not you should do that, which I found fascinating.
Just a quick note, I think I'm on vacation the week of the 23rd, so.
That's the break.
That happened last week.
Yeah.
It's school break.
And I am also, actually, so is everyone else here?
Should be backing up a week.
The 23rd is a what day? A Monday?
Monday.
After that weekend of the President's.
16th is President's
It's
Day.
February 9th, 18th.
It is President's Day.
20th is.
Is it President's Day?
The 16th.
It's the 16th.
Oh.
16th, the previous
Aren't our
weekend.
meetings the 9th and the 23rd?
You have the 9th and the 23rd.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you
It
got-
sounds like there's going to be 2 absences.
So that's the week prior to town meeting, essentially,
Yeah.
Oh, because, yeah, that's the normal time.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
wanna
I think I
consider
will be
pres-
here, just to be clear.
Do you need a quorum just to tell people stuff? If you're not trying to complete any business?
Presumably we'd be conducting the usual amount of business of approving minutes and board orders and that sort of thing, so it require a little bit of planning.
Does that have to be Monday?
Well, that whole week, I mean, assuming that nothing in the Caribbean continues to be weird, and I make it or make it back, I'm gonna be coming in like the day or two before town meeting. So for me, I guess it would have to move to the week before. I don't have a strong preference on the day if we're gonna be warning it. It seems a little odd to be doing it on President's Day. But we could do it on like the Tuesday if we're comfortable at having a special meeting that Tuesday.
I will also be gone then. I'll be gone for 2 weeks, sorry.
Or if the three remaining folks are comfortable doing it on that Monday, I'm okay with that.
Did you get anyone here the last one? Last time you did this? Do you recall?
Yeah, because there was also a candidates thing, right?
Right, the
Meet the candidates.
Yeah.
Planning-
That was all around pretty unique.
Yeah,
Planning is meeting here on the 17th at 7.
I have another meeting on the 17th. Would it be bad to meet on the 16th, on President's Day?
Have to move the ordinance meeting.
I'm fine with leaving it on
Isn't
the
the
20th.
ordinance meeting at 5?
No. it's
Oh,
at
no,
5.
okay.
I'm fine with leaving it on the 23rd, I guess, if I could have, like, maybe I'll allocate some more robust time for the agenda planning, because it would be a good opportunity to, like, run through the presentation. I'll just plan on a little bit longer agenda planning, and if I'm participating in that meeting, that kind of makes me feel like I've covered my bases there a little bit before departing and then returning for town meeting. Is everybody else fine with that plan?
I'm fine with that plan.
Christine?
Yeah, sounds okay.
Okay.
Please say it one more time. What date?
Keeping the 23rd date.
Okay.
It's just going to be likely you, Jamie, and Barbara.
Yeah.
There's a agenda planning meeting scheduled for the Tuesday before, which is our usual agenda planning meeting, but I'll selfishly use that as an opportunity to do a little bit deeper dive into the contents of that meeting, like the et cetera, you know. Sorry, I'm not expressing that.
Okay.
As opposed to making folks show up on President's Day. All right, next agenda item would be the assistant town clerk hiring. So we had a couple of items that were put in the sheriff drive, including assistant town clerk duties list and a ad that was prepared for soliciting applicants for the assistant town clerk, assistant town administrator role, largely informed by the work and lists that Kari and Tegan have been preparing in collaboration with Barbara and listing all of the things that Barbara does.
So we didn't finalize the job description, but we can easily turn that task list into one. And when we have the ad, we kind of know at this point, we haven't talked about it enough, what we think we need. And we'd like to go ahead and start advertising like tomorrow. So that we can begin interviews in a couple of weeks or 2 to 3 weeks and hire with a good amount of overlap and get the person on board for
before town meeting.
Town meeting.
Well, and the two things also pushing are, number one, if they could be on board by the February 10th election, that would be nice if they would get two with Barbara before our meeting. The other thing is Barbara's got a case of senioritis and she is ready to be done.
I never thought I'd see the day.
Wow.
She's excited about next steps and she's feeling like she's not doing her job as well as she has been. And so
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
I just had a couple of things on the ad. So it says hiring town clerk, assistant town clerk, and select board administrator. It sounded like two people. Could we just make it a clear that it's a single title, assistant town clerk / select board administrator?
Okay.
And I guess we need to clarify that this person is going to report to two people, right? I mean, it's a little...
It is, and that's just the nature of it. That's how it has been.
Yeah.
It's a little odd.
It is.
What's the supervisory, like, do you share the supervisory? Sorry, if I can just...
No, I mean, as far as the select...
on that, yeah.
I would say so, but it's fairly, I don't know, undefined, I guess.
There are different tasks. There are tasks the person will do under my jurisdiction, there are tasks the person does under Kari's, and usually we keep it fairly separate. And then when there are things that affect all three of us, we just talk all three of us.
Yeah.
When she was there every week, or not every week, all week, we would just chat on Wednesday mornings. We would sort of check in for scheduling and for tasks and for projects, and that was kind of how we managed that.
You used to say Calais Town Office Assistant, and then it doesn't have.
We could, so the thing is that assistant clerk is a statutory sort of, it's not really a statute, it's a borderline statutory title.
You have the privilege to appoint an assistant town clerk, and we have an obligation to approve, I guess, the compensation for that. So I think,
but the select board administrator is not my.
Yes, that's right.
So
I think for the announcement, this is sufficient, but I think for the job description, the supervisory relationship should get articulated.
Yes.
Reporting structure should be articulated.
Yeah.
Did you have other stuff?
My only other, the question I wanted to raise was, you've got, for physical demands, they must be able to lift and carry items up and down the stairs.
All the election stuff is stored upstairs. So anytime we need to pull down election boxes or the tabulator or other things, we can use the lift. I guess they wouldn't have to, but it's, if you can't get up and down.
If there is an elevator.
Yeah, that's what I said, there is a lift, you can use it, so we don't have to.
I would
put
rather
that.
not exclude people if we don't have to, is just what I'm thinking.
I just wanted people to be aware, without using too many words, that part of election duties is getting all the stuff that's up there into our cars and to the school, or to down here, or to over there, like that. There's not too much other physical stuff. Barbara also does some of the cleaning at the town office, but that's not necessarily part of this job. But the election stuff does involve making sure big, bulky things, not necessarily heavy, but bulky things get where they need to go on election days. And if you have wording that you prefer there, we're definitely.
Well, I don't know what the job pool, the applicant pool is, or, how many people in wheelchairs we're excluding, but I feel like we don't want to exclude people if we don't need to, and if we could move the elections materials, or, I mean, if there were accommodations that wouldn't be that hard to make, I wouldn't want to exclude a qualified candidate because of where we store the election materials. Although I'm hearing you say you need someone who's able to help move things and drive a car.
Ideally, yeah.
I think maybe what I would, friendly amendment would be that it wouldn't be specific to moving things up and down stairs.
But just moving items around.
That you have, there's a certain amount of moving of materials for the purposes of elections that requires physical.
Yeah, reagent stuff.
Yeah, lift carry, I don't know, maybe it might be worth putting transport.
Transport, lift carry and transport items related to it.
That I think would be reasonable, and
Because
pull the up and
it's the
downstairs.
person's choice, but it could be harder for somebody to like get something in their car than it is.
But I generally agree with setting the expectation of the lift carry and transport, that it's just kind of a safe practice.
I had a quick question about the number of hours a week. Does the 16 to 20 cover both? But it wouldn't cover the potential for the
Recording.
No,
the awesomeness.
It would not cover it.
Over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Our plan was to basically see who we get in terms of applicants, feel that out with them, and potentially offer that, after.
On top of this.
On top of it.
Okay.
It's such a different availability as far as hours and timing.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want to exclude somebody from this position that couldn't do recordings and everything. And that might be the case.
I was just a little confused, having looked at the budget just prior to this. It seemed like we were not adding enough hours together to make it 16 to 20, but I'm sure you all have looked at that.
Yeah, we just looked at it, it's 5, 5, and 12, I believe. I think we actually
I
have.
think so, I think that's what you said to me.
Okay,
We have a couple extra hours in there.
Awesome.
I think we're good.
okay, thank you.
So with the modest adjustments there, are we comfortable approving the posting of this
Yes.
job?
Yeah, great. And do you want Tegan and I to lead the effort and bring recommendation? Okay.
Do we need to form that as a action? Probably, it would be most appropriate. Delegation of our authority. So can I get a motion to approve the job posting as prepared by Kari and Tegan and reviewed, and authorizing Kari and Tegan to advertise for the job and interview candidates?
Authorizer, yep. Second.
All in
Saying
favor?
the wrong words are coming out.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good luck.
Yeah.
Um,
Good candidates for you out there.
Town website is am I right? Yes, town website, discuss the desired improvements and assigning of a working group. Tegan, do you want to, anybody want to?
I would say this came up well, Jamie, you want to lead it?
Jamie?
This has come up a few times over the years.
This should not be a surprise.
Most recently. But the town website is not, it's got a lot of information on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not always easy to find the information you're looking for.
Amen, sister.
Which partly, I think there's a couple of causes. I think one is, it's just a lot of information and there's not a really obvious way to organize it all that would be logical to everyone who's looking. But I think a limitation is that it's been ad hoc done by Tegan and myself and Sarah and Cliff and many other people over the last 10 years or however long we've had this website. And so
For which
there
we are
is,
very grateful.
yes.
Yes, thank you.
But there is a lot of, you've cleaned a lot up, but there's a lot of duplicate stuff, there's a lot of old stuff. There's a lot of stuff if you search that comes up that doesn't actually have buttons or links anywhere else.
Because those pages are no longer visible, and I hesitated to take off too much because it's your website. It's according to our policy, it's the select board's website, not the town clerk's website. So I like, there are lots of times where I'm like, well, I'll keep back 10 years and I won't leave on the thing from 2008, and, you know, but I am happy to.
And there's other times when we've been grateful that there's stuff from 2008 to, you know, find some context of how
Like
this policy.
who stands the Apple Hill?
Right.
And when?
So it.
Well, and the opposite, or a related issue that you raised, Jamie, was why aren't we making the documents that we're referring to in select board meetings more accessible to the people who are, like, we're all looking at all these documents and they're mysterious to anyone sitting there.
I've long thought that the majority of the documents that we're referring to throughout the course of a meeting should be available publicly. And
Yeah, well, they are
there was
public
a-
documents.
Right. There was a period when I was primary webmaster, when I was making an attempt to put agenda and like the 2 or 3 most important documents on the calendar. And I think whoever's doing it now is still putting the agenda.
Yeah, the agenda's going on. I've
On
never
the
seen
calendar.
anything except the agenda unless someone very much
Oh.
specifies, like, please put this document, but that hardly
Right.
happens.
But I was proposing that part of the conversation of making the website more user-friendly would be discussion of how we can make our documents more accessible to people attending the meetings.
I would add, especially because the school board people have been attending so many school board meetings on Zoom, and they
People
have,
see.
There's a lot of things that are really hard to find on their website, don't get me wrong, I don't find it ideal in any way, but once you know where you're going, they have every board packet with the agenda and the prior minutes, and it's all easy to see their entire board packet. So everything, all the 100 pages that they have of budget information and teacher record, they're all there together.
Right, for people who haven't seen it, they actually do a single PDF.
Yeah.
So it's like every file in our board folder made into one 50-page PDF. Which...
And how often do they meet?
I mean, lately, often.
A lot lately.
Well, I think that in reality, this is going to shake out in like some sort of in-between phase. You know, I like to take the opportunity to remind folks that there's an obligation to conduct business in the daylight, but and these are all certainly public records, but you know, there is no obligation to put all of that on there, and that is an administrative burden, and then a records retention burden when you start talking about the back-end infrastructure of a website that can kind of handle that in an elegant fashion. But I agree, and there's certainly been times when I've been a member of the community trying to track an issue, and the lack of information that you get prior to a meeting, you feel like you're on your heels when you're trying to participate in the dialogue around it.
Are we getting this feedback though? Sorry.
No, when Jamie brought this up, like this is kind of like a lingering thing that I certainly, before I joined the select board, was like, how do we balance that out? And one of the thoughts that I had was not only like having like the agenda posted, but an executive summary of like Hari's memo that like kind of takes the less confidential or sensitive pieces and puts that information up for the bigger issues, and then maybe some supporting documents that we choose, like the draft meeting minutes, the warrants, whatever can be done in a way that is administratively manageable and scalable, but also provides enough information, maybe in not its entirety, but gives enough information that people can pay attention and say, this is something that I want to request more information about.
The specific one I've heard is the working budget, as we're having weeks and weeks of budget conversations.
Yeah.
I heard John say that loud and
So
clear.
but that's, I mean, it's a good point.
Yeah.
So I think along that line, standardizing the expectation about like how the documents are labeled for the various committees and how we're storing that or making it accessible on the site would be a big one for me.
I also want to add, there's no retention regs at the moment about websites. The state doesn't have anything, they're working on it. And everything we have is saved physically, or like all the minutes and all those things are saved physically. So it's not required to save them there if we don't.
There's no retention requirement for websites.
Not yet.
I think it's problematic to not put those things on, like to not be consistent and get those things on there because you don't realize you have a problem until
No.
Like with keeping of minutes, especially for like the subcommittees. I think this is going to raise an interesting opportunity for dialogue with the subcommittees around standardizing the formatting of minutes and that sort of thing, and what the expectation is for subcommittees to retain those records or maintain those records in a particular format. Because nobody would have much line of sight on that without going through and making a records request to the town clerk or to individual committee to review those and see if there is a discrepancy in maintenance issues. And for that matter, like as a select board member, I find myself interacting, and that's the first place I go to try to find records of policy documentation, minutes, and that sort of thing, as opposed to going to the town clerk and saying, hey, where is this? Or, you know, if there's a way to kind of use the website as a kind of repository for that kind of information, I think it is helpful just from a governance perspective. Starting a working group around this certainly don't have any opposition to that. I don't think it needs to be a formal committee. Jamie, it sounds like you've got some pretty strong opinions and perspective on it. Are you assigning this to yourself, or am I indirectly assigning it to you?
I would be willing to work on it. Yes.
Does anybody else have a strong opinion about how the working group is populated or soliciting feedback on the things that they'd like to do? At this point, it's not going to cost us anything to do kind of an exploration around what would be involved.
I've been given a heads up that I am participating in this working group.
Sounds like Tegan's participating.
Sarah.
I just want to say my only thing is that I know the website maybe better than Jamie, maybe not. And so I have a hard time when people are like, I can't find a thing. I'm like, well, it's right here. You just go there and then there and then there and then there and click that, it's right there.
Under that menu, yeah.
So we would definitely need somebody who is not intimately familiar with it, who can say, no, that's not a good place to put
Right,
it.
I would qualify as such a person.
Because it's designed more for those of us who are in it all the time,
Yeah.
not for
Yeah.
everyday people.
Right, the group can't just be the 3 webmasters.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, and along those lines, like I think that the individual who we may be hiring, depending on what the back-end infrastructure is of the website, like I may want to consider placing a higher degree of expectation around their populating of the site with like maintaining calendars for various buildings and committees and making sure that that's on the website. And right now, I know that the back-end infrastructure of the website makes that kind of challenging, unless you're pretty familiar with how to navigate that one interface. So, yeah, I trust that you guys are bringing that kind of perspective, but I don't see how we're going to be doing this without changing platform, and changing platform is going to be a pretty significant migration.
That's probably going to cost a few dollars.
That's going to cost a lot.
And hugely labor intensive.
And fairly labor intensive, and I, from personal experience, will say that it's very short-sighted to say that you're gonna stand up that labor with volunteer work. It never works, and it takes twice as long.
So you feel like the web design interface, or whatever the hell it's called, is part of the problem?
I think it's part of the problem, but I don't know that, I think the bulk of the issues could be improved in the current framework.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that, I mean, I haven't used a lot of, but I've used several different softwares, and I find this one very
clunky.
It's clunky, and it just doesn't allow you to do a lot of tinkering on things that you should be able to tinker on.
Unless you really dig in and do the code.
Right.
Which it will let you do, but really.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what kind of timeline do folks think that a project like this needs, or a working group needs, to do some information seeking?
We've outlined a bunch of different priorities, like there's making Selectboard or other meeting documents available to people on a weekly or monthly basis. There's making it more navigable for everyday people. There's the retention of records and cleaning out records that are already on there. Like, I feel like those are 3 different tasks that we can't do all 3 at once. We can sort of think, but knowing what the priorities are and kind of the parameters for those priorities that the select board would like to see, because it's the select board's website. I feel like it'd be nice to have some outline from anyone who has strong feelings.
My strong feelings is navigability.
Yeah.
That's my first thing.
Do you agree it's a little difficult?
I don't know, and I agree, and I did IT for a long time. I just agree, because I put in search sometimes, and it doesn't take me to where I think it should go.
Yeah, the search is not helpful.
Yeah, and so, and I don't mind helping out a little bit. I'm a little over budgeted in time as it is, but I'm happy to help if you think you'd want some of my help. But I never designed a website, used a lot of them, but I haven't.
So, Jamie, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this squarely. It's not exactly a chair position, but I guess I'd call select board members to like maybe come up with a short list of things that or pieces of input that I think we should give to Jamie about specific things or improvements that we'd like to see, or improvements we'd like to see.
I was gonna flip it,
Okay.
actually.
All right.
It seemed, I mean, I was just gonna say, you know, if whoever the group is, if they wanna come up with a list of what they see as all the issues, and sort of a sense of like near-term, medium-term, long-term, would that make sense? And then we can have a discussion about it, because I mean, I have preferences about websites and I have thoughts about it, but it would take me many hours to go through and evaluate what I think this needs. So I'm just trying to, do we want all of us doing that individually, or do we want to have a group looking at that together and coming back to us with a recommendation?
Well, if you had a thing that you wanted, you should express it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, the group can, like, make recommendations, develop recommendations.
I know the DRB reached out a number of months ago and said, our pages and the zoning applications and all that is a mess. Can you fix it? And so.
Can you fix it?
Well, no, but then
One way to do it.
Sarah Black and Willa and Toby and I, were you with that? No, I don't, maybe John McCullough sat down in front of a desktop together and really outlined some ways to make it more user-friendly. And now I feel like someone looking for a curb cut permit versus a conditional use versus a whatever, it's much more user-friendly than it was. So one step could be reaching out to the various committees and commissions for their individual pages and being like, is this what you want your page to look like? Does it have the information you think people should have? That doesn't help navigability, but it does help usability once people get where they need to go.
Yeah, I think navigability is always going to be hard. I've been on a handful of other municipal websites, and while there are some that are incrementally better and some that are significantly worse, I think it's a hard thing to wrestle with. So, you know, it's similar to the feedback that I had last week. Is like, I think it'd be great, in addition to soliciting the feedback from the individual committees that are more document intensive, it'd be good to go out and find a couple of examples of things like sites that may be functioning well or better, and that I think will open an opportunity to reach out to the web developers or the folks who built those sites, and start feeding into kind of next steps. But I think bringing back examples during those, hey, these are the recommended changes, the short list of things that, of wants from the various folks who are interacting with it more regularly. Like, here's also some examples of ones that look and feel and navigate a lot better would be helpful for consideration, and I think that will frame how we task the work group to come up with the scope of work.
I also think that the other piece of the ease of simple changes is not a small thing. I agree.
Yeah.
That point, Jamie, can be really challenging, but maybe not fixable unless you moved platforms.
Right, there's so many little things about it, even like, you know, you're going down different menus and some things you click on the heading and it takes you to a page, but there's not really a page there and you have to go to the next menu, like,
And you have to work on those, but they surprise me.
They just
Where the heck is this?
right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
The cost for this particular platform has gone up this past year. They got bought by a different company, so it went up significantly. So if we wanted to shop around, it wouldn't be the worst thing. Like Jordan said, it's still gonna be a ton of work to move to a different platform, but I'm not against it, given the price hike and the change in ownership.
Okay.
So would it be reasonable to say, like, maybe after town meeting, for one of the meetings after town meeting, we have an opportunity to revisit this with like a list of things that you'd like improvement? I think the other thing that we need to be careful of is, like, as you reach out to the various subcommittees and find that there are opportunities, oh, we'll make a little tweak here, we'll make a little tweak here, and as you start to like invest time into making changes, but then still realize that the bigger problem is not worth continuing to make those changes. I think it's.
Those little tweaks are ongoing, and I've been working on them piecemeal
Okay.
the whole time.
How much time do you think you'd need to solicit some more feedback on?
From the committees and stuff? Some committees will get back to us immediately, and some committees won't respond until we've pestered them repeatedly. We could give that job to Barbara in her remaining weeks, I'm sure she'd love it.
I don't think any of us are prepared for that.
I think after town meeting is a fine time, yeah, if that's what you're looking for.
Welcome to bring it back up sooner.
Well, given that I'm about to start designing the town report for the first time,
Yeah.
I won't have a lot of bandwidth
Yeah,
in the next couple weeks.
Okay, so we'll earmark sometime meeting or two after town meeting to dive back in a little bit more. Okay,
Sounds good to me.
Do we need to take any more formal steps to this work group? I don't think so. We've just designated one. Sounds like folks are motivated. Let's just make sure that we don't have a quorum of select board members participating in that dialogue at any point in time. Great. Reports. Christy, you posted the updated draft version of the select board report for town meeting in the shared drive.
It was essentially updating based on the discussion at our last meeting. I highlighted 3 sections that were new. I did make some tweaks elsewhere that were minor. There's still a lot of blanks for the percentages that Kari and I can work on finalizing if the rest of the text is okay with the select board. However, I did realize that we might wish to say something under our looking forward section. What is that called? Looking forward? We have this small issue of the Calais Elementary School, and we don't say a word about it here. And it's not, the initial decision is not our decision, but we might want to say that the town will have a big, opportunity, decision, task ahead of it if the school closes.
The tricky thing is so much information will come in between when we write this and when we publish it.
So clearly we can't, it's not like anything.
But the decision is like sort of evergreen, right? I mean,
You can just say we're monitoring,
Yeah.
of course we're monitoring and.
And you might say that the select board is not taking a position on the closing of the school. However, we recognize that someday we may need, as a town, make a decision about what to do with the facility.
There you go.
Meet the challenge of.
If you feel like it's
Right.
premature to say anything at this point, we don't have to, but it feels like an omission at this point, given all that's going on.
I agree, and in some ways it would be prudent of us to be having a conversation.
Yes, we need to start thinking,
Because
and the
the
planning
time
commission.
frame is very tight.
Yes.
If that decision is made by the town.
And I know the planning commission is thinking,
I think it's a year.
Yeah.
Right, which
Although
sounds like a lot.
who else would they sell it to, so?
Well,
I
mean, who
it
knows?
might be,
Well, it's our decision, I guess, to refuse the purchase of it.
Right. Right.
So, I
and
think
that's a
that
big decision, actually.
it's fair to say that we have been entertaining that conversation, and over the last couple of years, we've had the school board in here to provide updates, and we have requested information about what the cost of operation of the school would look like. We haven't gotten a ton of information.
They threw a number out at their last meeting. Did anyone else catch that?
No.
I think it was 200,000 a year. Which
to
is
maintain the
ballpark, just to
facility.
keep the heat, lights.
You need a water operator.
Yeah,
It's a water
just like
system.
one person monitoring things.
Hmm.
Like, it was either 2 or 250, I think.
I think that the track that Jordan's on is correct, that it gets mentioned as something we've been monitoring and discussing, you know, and welcoming the select board in to provide us updates. I'm sorry, school board members to provide updates, and that we recognize that, if, you know, there's may be a decision that will be impactful for the town made after the printing of this report.
Yeah.
That we'll be looking to work with the town for a
And-
positive conclusion, or blah, blah, blah.
You know, I
Blah, blah, blah.
don't know that, I think even the phrasing of this, again, it could potentially be controversial, which is somewhat frustrating, but like, I think that the acknowledgement that like the select, while it's not under the select board's purview to be making a decision about closure or, you know, school board decisions, or school,
We don't run the school.
whatever, we don't run the school, outcomes in the near future will force challenging decisions that the select board may have to weigh more heavily into.
Did you all receive a letter about this from anyone?
What?
There was talk among some people, I don't know why it didn't happen, a number of weeks ago about writing a letter encouraging the select board to begin this conversation. And various people were trying to decide who was gonna sign the letter and who was not.
Okay, well,
I didn't know if that had happened when I wasn't looking or no, but I know that there are people who are actively hoping this conversation will
I
begin.
mean, I think it's, yeah, I think
But the other thing I want to say is John Brabant called me today to reserve this space for January 24th to have a meeting to talk about the vote and the potential school closures in Worcester and Calais. They're going to have another one in Worcester in some evening. So that conversation will be happening here that day.
Okay.
so we know the conversations are ongoing. I don't know. All right, so is there a sense that we should say something about how we've been monitoring it, we know this is happening, we are not in charge of it, and once there's a decision, we will be doing our job and trying to figure out what to do next? Something like that.
Put on your words in the hat. I have a small nit, and that is just allocation to the town reserve funds. We have proposed adding a new land acquisition fund, I think, change that to the real estate.
Yes, got that.
You got that already,
Thank you.
okay.
And I might, then, I could refer to Articles 9 and 10 of the warning there, people are confused. Or if that would help clarify it for people.
I don't think it's necessary, and if there's a change to the articles
Okay.
or something like that, or with other petitions that are coming in, I would just save one
I
last
will leave
edit.
that up. And is it 500 that we decided on? Is that what's in the budget, 500? Okay.
Just a small thing on the road safety paragraph on page 3, I think it is. I just wondered if we could say bicyclists too
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Why, certainly we could.
Just because we did get pushback about that. And that I don't know how many of those signs have been installed, but the ones that got installed on the county road, the 4-foot requirement.
There's 2.
yeah.
Is that just on the county road?
Yeah.
Is that worth mentioning or not mentioning?
A few people commented.
Did we do those?
We did that on the request of residents. Bill Powell.
What are these
Still
signs?
here?
What are these signs?
There's a
Are there any?
relatively new state law that cars have to give bicyclists a 4-foot berth.
A minimum of 4 feet
Minimum of 4
at
feet.
pass. Yeah.
And so we put up signs sort of on either end of County Road.
Yep.
Correct.
On the
Yeah.
paid
And
portion.
on the paid portion, just
Yeah,
saying that.
thanks.
Bill, did you
Especially,
have a comment on that?
No, just to add that it's bikes and pedestrians.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thank you.
And this is, you know, Vermont is not alone in this statute. Many states have this.
Great, thank you.
So it's a legal requirement of giving 4 feet of, what, space to
I
pedestrians
can't
and
remember what the
bicyclists?
sign actually says.
I can look it up.
Yeah.
But it's in your paragraph here, it says with the goal of improving safety for pedestrians and drivers alike. So I just wanted to make,
Bicyclists.
yeah, thank you.
Got it.
Cyclists.
Yeah, cyclists, thank you.
You're a skateboarder.
On
your own.
On the Calais Town Hall
Yes.
paragraph, I just wonder if you can say a public event to showcase the emerging performance art space,
Okay,
as it's not done.
okay.
And just strike for use in, there's
Yes,
some
I got
extra
that.
words there,
I
okay.
got that one.
And then, I thought maybe that last sentence, maybe, if we could say something like, the select board, looks forward to collaborating with the Friends to facilitate public use.
Okay.
Is that
Good.
okay? And then in each of these, East Calais Dam, I was thinking, I was wondering if we want to be articulating with respect to the East Calais Dam, what role we're playing in this.
Yeah, maybe not much.
Okay, are we not? I mean,
No, we don't
Okay.
really have an active role, we're sort of facilitating.
We may be meeting with property owners at some point.
That's true, there's that issue of
The
the
land.
new land.
well, and so that's what I was sort of wondering, like, do we want to put it out there that the resulting stretch of land along the stream could potentially support a walking trail? Is that from recommendations or like?
Oh, yeah,
That's
that,
a
I mean, that
different
has been articulated at multiple meetings.
Yeah, that's the stretch along 14, but then where the whole pond is, it's actually, the question is, will it be privately owned by the property owner?
Right, no, I understood that. Okay, I was conflating the two, I guess. Okay, I think it's fine as is then. Great.
Above that, with the Woodbury, the section that is talking about emergency services, it references in the last sentence, the joint meetings pursuant to our interagency agreement. I don't know if we just want to call it the interlocal, since that's what we generally call it.
Oh, yes, good. Interlocal agreement. Thank you.
Other than that, I don't have any other strong input.
How much do we talk about people we've lost and acknowledging volunteers who have moved on?
So we have, under keeping the town running, I had welcoming new volunteers, I actually changed that to officials because it's health officer and emergency management director, and I think they both have some compensation. So I made it officials.
Okay.
So we named those two, who I
Yeah.
thought are significant folks. There are always new volunteers. And then there will be separate sections in tributes for various people as appropriate. But
Yeah.
I'm not writing here.
Okay, so like Scott Bassett.
Scott will have something and Barbara will have something.
But we do mention Barbara in this, which I think is a,
Yeah, pretty
right. That's what stimulated my question, is like how many others are we also?
As far as I know, the only ones we've talked about are Scott and Barbara. And Winchester, I believe, has already done the thing for Scott or is working on it. They're just trying to track down a picture.
Okay.
And I've gotten assistance from a few others to do the thing for Barbara. So
Okay, great.
I was also thinking about contributing to Barbara's, there was the application that I guess I had prepared some commentary on.
Yes,
Barbara's.
yes.
Were you gonna pull from that one already?
I'm also trying to keep it short.
Yeah.
You know, Barbara's impact has been tremendous, but especially when people will have the tribute to Scott there, and that's a totally different ball of wax. Just that.
Okay. And if you're feeling like that Barbara's
I think it
sufficient
is,
coverage,
yeah.
then I'll leave it at that then.
And one thing I mentioned to Sandra Ferber when we were talking earlier today is anything that doesn't make it into the town report, like we are going to do a celebration in the spring.
Yeah.
And then we will find some way to make sure everybody can say all the wonderful, beautiful, like a book for her or something where we can all really say what she means to us, because I feel like when I started digging into the thing, is everyone has a Barbara story. Everyone has a Barbara story, and like trying to put them all in one thing is just going to be frustrating. So I'm not making that the goal of this.
Maybe it'll be a book that we can sell.
That, you know what, we could go for it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Christie.
Yeah, Christie, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
Like I said, it's like writing that holiday letter.
Tegan, do you have update, town clerk update of anything?
Yeah, so we have most of the documents we need for the town report. A few of them are still trickling in. And I managed to track down an InDesign file from someone who designed the report a number of years ago, because the last few people didn't have one and we didn't have one, and I was gonna have to start from scratch. So I'm really excited to get that.
Good.
And I got some lessons on InDesign from my husband, who's taught journalism students how to do it. So I feel pretty confident digging into that. I'm excited to do it. And other than that, the big thing is the elections. I've already gotten about 40 requests each for the Calais school closure vote and the career center ballot, so I have those that I'm recording. I sent our voter list today to Melissa Teller to send to the publisher, to send to the printer, so that they can send out the WCUSD ballots and the town ballots when the time comes. So that list is all put together, complete with snowbirds and all those. So that's kind of what we're gearing up for and working on. Some year-end things, we closed the dog year and the dog module, and just general things that happen as the year turns over. Things have been good.
Thank you. All right.
So update on the Lightning Ridge right-of-way issue. So the Franks responded to our request to move their truck. That was good. Doug did not move his hay bales. He said he did not. The sheriff went out twice today, made contact with him, and he told the sheriff he wasn't going to move the hay bales either. So the sheriff's recommendation was to contact our attorney about what our next steps could be. And then Doug called me and told me the same thing. And, he was in fine form today, threatening lawsuits, just so you remember. And so I did reach out to our attorney. Not about that, but I brought that up, and he's going to get back to me about what our options are. We have the select board has the ability to assess a fine, associated with a citation. The question is how much time, effort, money we're going to spend trying to collect that, or whatever we're going to do. So he's working on that.
So this was like there's the previous situation with this, and we had sent
a
letter out,
and that worked.
In March 2024.
And that didn't specify a fining amount. And I'm wondering if it warrants authorizing Kari to send a warning saying that if something's not done, then.
I would suggest that come from the select board. I think that's part of what happened was success last time. What I could do is put that letter in the folder for next time we can discuss it. I'm surprised Doug's not here. He said he was coming, but I sense something's different this time. He's really dug in, so to speak.
How much does it cost us to get, like you said, we sent a warning letter last year with, obviously drafted by the attorney, etc.
Yeah.
So that is a cost.
Yeah. I drafted it, he reviewed it. I don't remember how much time he spent. It couldn't have been that much because He was basically tweaking my language.
Okay.
So, and we have that letter we can work from again. I tend to agree that it's worth a try.
So just to be clear about the facts on the road, there are big round bales, and they're at the edge of the road in the right of way.
Yes.
Are they slowing cars down? Are they in the way? Are they?
I would say they're not in the travel portion, really.
It's the plow issue, right?
Right.
Are the
Looks
plow,
like
are
the
they?
plow has to move its
His
path a little bit.
justification when he was here was he was protecting the trees from the plow.
Yeah, that's what he'll tell you, yeah.
And so they're right next to trees.
And my concern is safety. I mean, someone could hit them if they're just veering off a little
Yeah.
bit, not
Right.
paying attention or whatever.
So they're close enough to the traveled portions that.
They're right on the edge, yeah. John initially reported, oh, look what we have to deal with, and then he's like, maybe we shouldn't deal with it. And my sense is, you allow this, and then what's next?
I mean, I have stronger opinions about it than that. There's already a pattern of putting things in the town right of way, whether it's rock from a couple of years ago or hay bales were put in, and we went through a similar situation. There are also snow stakes that get put right at the edge of the traveled way, and that behavior is unacceptable. I've hit the stakes with my mirror as driving by because it's on the edge of the traveled way, and it's not wide enough for my truck and another vehicle to pass each other with opposing traffic, and it's a hay bale is not an insignificant object to be immediately adjacent to the road. Neither are trees, but none of us put them there. So I think that this sets a pretty unacceptable pattern of behavior, and it's continued on. So for me, it's a question of, do we send a warning letter? And even thinking at this point, we've already sent a warning letter last year, and it's the exact same action. And I don't know that personally. An additional warning of, if you don't do something, then we're gonna levy a citation.
Well, I think we should levy a citation, a $1 amount per day. Write a letter, get it out to him, and start today. That's the way to do it. And if he doesn't like it, then we'll go to the lawyer. But I agree with Jordan. This is not behavior we should be putting up with.
I'd like you to hear options from the attorney, though, and the implications of each of those options. They're going to tell you what it's going to cost you and what to expect. I think that's important context.
I know it's Doug, but are there options that we can agree on to protect his trees? Are there things we could do to protect his trees in the right of way that also allows the plow to plow and people to drive?
The problem with me is that these particular trees in discussion are not, I don't think that there, from my perspective, has been a demonstrated interest of the plows actually damaging these particular trees. There are certainly instances around town where trees that are closer to the traveled right of way have been hit by the plow, but not these particular trees. And it just opens a can of worms and dialogue around, modifying the instruction for the road crew on how to address maintenance in any particular portion of the town relative to one person's feedback.
It's more, Doug's gonna keep doing things to protect his trees. Or could we give him options that we find acceptable to do to protect his trees? Could we? I'm not saying they're not protected. I'm not saying they're being abused at all, but.
Well, under the ordinance, you're supposed to apply for a permit to
Yes.
have something in the right of way, right?
That is true.
Could he ask for a permit to do something, is what you're saying?
That we all have a conversation.
I like that. I mean, he could come up with some other solution. Something that, visible but not physical obstruction. I don't know. It's almost like a safe face-saving
Right.
option.
He feels listened to, he feels like we're, you know.
Is the lawyer looking at the lawyers at the ordinance in mind?
Yeah.
So I agree that we should get some feedback, and I think maybe offering that point that we're looking for perhaps an opportunity, I don't know that we need to save face, but for an alternative that would be suggested, that we could suggest.
Right.
But I don't even think we should be in the business of responding to so-called protecting trees, because I don't think that's what that's for. That's not there for that, in my opinion.
No.
So I feel like starting to get in a push-pull about what protects a tree and what doesn't is not really what this body needs to spend time on. The fact is, there's an object in the right-of-way that is not allowed to be there. So
True.
to my point,
On the positive, Pike agreed to the offer.
nice.
Charlie Boyce is reconsidering their offer on trade-in values, and we'll see.
Great.
The ash tree removal project completed, big thanks to Neil, he was really the leader on that. We got the reimbursement check today, so that project's complete.
Great.
And big thanks to the road crew for actually delivering the firewood, so we
So they ended
avoided all
up
the
doing it,
liability.
okay.
Yeah, because it was only 2 quarts. And
So it turned out to
teaming
just
and
be
no
less.
interference. Yeah, so that worked out great. And then next week's meeting, we've got, I expect that Catherine Saunders and Stephanie Kaplan will come to talk about community nurse research that they've done. And we've got the budget in the morning, and then also Brian Voigt from the Regional Planning Commission wants to come and talk about their project to address the gully next to Tegan's house on Marshfield Road. They're going to install a new culvert and other measures to reduce water pollution, which will have a beneficial effect for the town, for the road.
Great.
And we'll talk about that.
Got it. Can I ask you a road commissioner question?
Sure.
I just, hearing the folks on Apple Hill talking about the new ditching and how it narrowed there's a lot of ditching going around, and I thought it was for flood control purposes. Is that what was happening up there, do you know?
I don't even know, I think that predates me.
The ditching, as I understood it, the ditching was to help remove the water from the road such that it doesn't, we don't have as difficult a time during much season.
Part of the flood resilience stuff.
Yeah,
that's what ditching usually is all about, is getting water off the road as quickly as possible.
Right. And it can narrow the driving surface if it's...
The roads are crowned more, and they have these ditches, and
so it feels
seems
narrower.
to actually work. I actually think they're in better condition.
Speaking of that, I'll raise this. Louis Franco, who lives next to the store, approached me. This actually happened a while ago, and I just dropped the ball on it. But he's looking for solutions to make the newer ditch in front of his house safer. His main concern is safety, someone sliding into that or walking into it.
Because it's a bigger ditch, and so it's like a hazard.
It's relatively deep in a well-traveled area. So.
That's true all over town, though.
That's just downtown Maple Corner.
Downtown.
No, it is kind of a ruckus right there, where there's the big ditch and there's the culvert.
And the community center.
And the community center parking, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised there haven't been any cars that got a little too close to the edge on that ditch.
So I'm gonna
there have
talk with the crew about what can be done. Toby's response was, you could put a French drain in there, which would basically be an extended culvert going all the way up to Worcester Road, which would be a pretty significant culvert.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like a piece of permeable infrastructure. So it's like a culvert that can receive water. It's like a pipe that's surrounded by crushed gravel, but it becomes a long-term. Any of these become like long-term maintenance issues because the fabric that you use to keep sediment out of the filtering stuff does eventually get clogged, so you then have to maintain or replace it.
Right,
I mean,
and I think
but I
there
think
used
that-
to be something like that there,
Yeah.
because when they
Oh, really?
dug the ditch, there's, right by the store parking lot, there's a stormwater drain that
Yeah.
goes into a culvert. And then there was another stormwater drain halfway between that first one and the dry-fruits driveway.
Okay.
And they were connected with a piece of perforated culvert
Oh,
that came out when they did the ditch, and it was clearly already not in use anymore.
I mean, what's curious about that one section to me is that the drainage that you're talking about for that one particular area is fairly limited to what's in front of the Dreyfus's house and a little bit of stuff that could be collected from a few adjoining parcels, but there's also a pretty significant perennial mud pit right before the pavement starts, and it makes me wonder that like if a more comprehensive rebuild of roadbed surface there.
yeah. I always suspected that was due to salt sliding down the hill
Yeah,
and ending up in the gravel.
right. And clay
Yeah,
oil and
and-
other things.
Thought we might want to pave up a little bit further, but then I saw the minutes from the meeting. I don't want to go there.
Again, let the record reflect that Kari is proposing paving further north of the well, it is late, everyone. What do we have left? The East Montpelier Fire Department meeting.
Yeah, we talked about that, and I don't know, I think the one question is how many people from the select board do we want at the meeting? For Seth, it was important to have his select board there to vote on it, to make a decision. I think from our point of view, we want, if it's not 30,000 that we're reducing, or, are the people there empowered to negotiate down a little bit, or are we just holding firm at 30? I think that's sort of the question.
The 30 is 20 to them, 10 to us. Yeah.
Wait, are you saying East Montpelier Select Board needs a quorum to vote?
That's what Seth was saying.
And then why would we not also need?
I don't think we need to vote on it so much as approve our budget,
I
next
see.
Monday.
I see.
Okay. I am going to be out of town, but I can Zoom, but I don't know what that does to voting. Sorry.
I'll make one again, so. This is.
Yeah, I mean, you could just tell us it's 30, that's what.
30, it's 30. We direct you.
Yeah.
I think that's a fine strategy.
Yeah, I agree. And I will make an effort to be there.
Okay.
I don't know how I
Thank
missed the
you.
last one. Okay. Wrapped up, but
Very good.
very good.
Yeah, thanks
Thank you.
for pushing that.
Anybody else? Meeting adjourned.